3/4 of the way now, and the baby's due at the beginning of April, but we're having a natural birth, so it might be earlier, it might be a bit later, but it'll most probably be an Aries baby. We are having a boy. At 16 weeks we went for a scan, and that's when you can find out the gender, and he was flashing. There was no ways that we couldn't find out what he was, so yeah, we're having a boy. So I did quite a lot of preconception planning. I saw a lady called Claudia Slattery in Northcliffe, and she helped me to do the Justice method of temperature control in your body, where you actually wake up every morning and you take your temperature before you get out of bed, and you chart it, and you start to see these patterns in your body, which is really phenomenal. You get in touch with when your hormones change and how things adjust with different times of the month and that. So I started to really try and get in touch with my body in that sense. And then I also saw a nutritionist, Taryn Coughlin. She's also in Northcliffe, and she helped me to really sort out my gut, because gut health is the key to everything. It really is the key. So I wanted to do that, and then also I had blood tests done. I wanted to check my folic acid, I needed to check my iron levels, my hemoglobin levels, my white blood cells, my immune system, how strong I was. So obviously those things are important for pregnancy, and so yes, I did do quite a lot of planning beforehand. And there were 1 or 2 things that I added into my vegan diet, like eggs for folic acid, because we've got beautiful eggs here on our property, and our chickens only eat the organic greens and things that come out of our own kitchens on the farm at Leafy Greens. So I had a really clean, wonderful source of that I was able to add in. So I've been very gentle with myself in terms of strict diet. I've tried to listen to my body and listen to my baby and eat what's really needed. So yeah. So in my first trimester, the first 3 months, I found out I was pregnant right at the beginning. I was 1.5 weeks pregnant. It actually didn't pick it up on the pregnancy test yet, but I knew I'm so in touch with my body that I knew that something was not right. So, well, very right, but we were planning it. And then a couple of weeks later I got a clear blue pregnancy test, and that really picks up the hormone even when it's at a very low level, and at that point it said you're 3 weeks pregnant. So we were very excited. Jake and I were together, and from that point onwards, I don't know if it was psychological or just that first trimester, but I started to feel very, very tired, and that is a very normal thing to feel in the first trimester. But I would sneak off at lunchtime and have a little nap, and I know a lot of women do the same when they're working in a corporate job. They go off and sleep in their car for an hour during lunch, and then go and wipe their face in the bathroom and come back into the office. So I did a very similar thing. And then I did have a little bit of nausea. I didn't have any morning sickness. In the mornings I was great. I could have my normal smoothie, my normal breakfast, and I was absolutely fine. And then when it got to the evening, I started feeling quite nauseous. So when I was cooking for my husband or something was in the oven, it would make me feel quite queasy. I never vomited as such, which was great, but you do have a lot of aversions. And actually I had more aversions than cravings, so more things made me feel queasy and a bit ill than too many cravings, which was great. Actually I lost a couple of kilos in those first 3 months, 3 kilos or so, and I kind of just got through it. I did have a few cravings though, for salty chips, which I thought was really ridiculous, because I was taking all of my tissue salts and all of my minerals, because often when you don't have enough minerals then you crave salty things. So that was really funny for me, but some of those cravings I just couldn't get over, so I would just go and buy a packet of chips and eat it, and then just make peace with it and be okay with it and move forward. So yeah, that was my experience in the first 3 months. So like I touched on briefly with the first trimester, I just did what I could with that nausea in the afternoons. I would often just eat a nectarine for dinner, or a little packet of chips a couple of times, and then go and have a nice bath and kind of get away with that. In the second trimester, that was really easy for me. I had my normal diet, my vegetables, my salads, my greens, my green juice, In the first trimester, I actually couldn't have any tea and I couldn't have any greens, believe it. I live on greens, on green juice, and my body really needs the kale and the spinach and that for protein and iron, but I couldn't do greens. So I just did other vegetables and did what I could. Then I feel now in the third trimester, they say that 28 weeks is the kind of lowest point in a pregnancy. So I had blood tests done and my iron level is quite low. It's 4.8 at the moment and it's supposed to be between 7 and 30. So I really need to get my iron levels up a little bit. So I've been doing lots of supplementing for that, iron supplements and B12 with it, and trying to see if that improves. But yeah, again, being very gentle with myself. I've actually had cravings for dairy products, and I think that's probably obviously for calcium for the baby's bones to grow and develop. So been very gentle with myself, just trying to make the best choices when I do eat something, and get it organic and natural, and if it is dairy, then ferment it, make kefirs, and rather have that, which is obviously much more digestible and gut friendly. So yeah, it's been interesting to see. And then now obviously I'm at the start of my third trimester, so I'll be able to blog about that at a later point. In my daily life, I always take my iron, my liquid iron. I love tissue salts. I think that they're really powerful. So supplements are important, but I've liked to also try and find real food sources where I could. So like I said, for the folic acid, one of the main sources of that is eggs. Vitamin D, you know, you only get vitamin D really, especially D3, from butter. So I've got some butter from my grandmother who's got her own cows and that, and so I've had a little bit of that. So I've tried to get minerals from food sources. I did go on an actual folic acid tablet, which I think was the Solol brand, and I have done one or two other things like I said, a B12, and then my normal superfoods. I love maca powder, and I love putting a pea and hemp protein powder into my smoothie. So those aren't supplements as such, they are food sources of minerals and nutrients. So yeah, I've done a lot more superfoods, I think, than actual pills. So my husband and I are planning on doing a home water birth. We've got a beautiful midwife who's been in the business for 33 years, and we have actually been journaling and writing a lot of intentions and things down for when our son is here, and what type of parents we want to be, and how we want to raise him, and how we want to educate him. So I think it's very important to make that space in your life for the child and plan a little bit. So we have journaled about what type of a diet we'd like to raise our son on, and our future children. And although I have been mostly vegan for the last 8 to 10 years, I would hate my child to rebel against me for bringing him up in a certain way. I definitely want my child to have education on all levels, and definitely mostly a vegan plant-based diet. But I think that also one needs to be careful with supplementing with children and making sure that they grow properly and that their brains develop and they have the right omegas and that type of thing. And most of those can be found from plant-based sources, and that's why I do say mostly vegan diet. My husband is not a vegetarian or a vegan, so I just want my child to be educated and to be able to make his own choices. Obviously at home we'll have a lot of fruit and a lot of health foods. You know, definitely not going to have a cupboard full of knickknacks and Kit Kats and things, but yeah, I think I want to be a little bit flexible and see where that goes. I'm going to try and breastfeed for as long as I can, a year, or maybe even more if I can. So yeah, we're still discussing that, kind of making plans, and we're going to see what the child also wants, what they grab for, and so that's kind of baby-led weaning, I guess. So I think we're going to discuss that a little bit more as we go along, but definitely mostly a plant-based diet.